Good afternoon. My name is Ken Kettenbiel. I'm the Vice Chancellor for External Relations here at UM-Dearborn. Welcome. It's great to see everyone on this great day, and I'm just smiling because I'm seeing a lot of people in the audience with national championship gear on and other branded Michigan things. So we know that the real star is coming a little bit later in the day, but just kidding, Domenico. So this year we're going to follow the same format for State of the University address. If you attended last year, the Chancellor will kick off with some formal remarks, and then we have a mix of panel discussions and a short presentation from various members of the campus community on initiatives that are key and important things happening here at U of M Dearborn. And then we have some videos that are going to be interspersed throughout that showcase our practice-based learning that's taking place in our classrooms. So we think it's a really nice program. We hope you enjoy it. There's no Q&A at this, but all of the presenters, including the Chancellor, will be up here at the end if you want to come up, ask questions. That's great. And then we'll move over to our Winterfest, which I think we've rebranded today Springfest. So with that, I welcome our Chancellor, Domenico Grasso, up to the podium to kick things off.
Thanks very much, Ken, and welcome to everybody here. And as Ken mentioned, I know many of you came to see the National Championship Trophy, and I guarantee it'll still be here for as long as I speak. So I hope that you are ready for a very exciting presentation that was really choreographed by Ken and his team that's multimedia and involves a lot of other folks here as well. So we have much to talk about and much to be proud of as a university community. Before we begin, I'd like to give a special welcome to members of my Citizens Advisory Committee. Mary Zatina, please stand. General Manager of WDET. Russ Cavalluna, President of Henry Ford College. Tricia Stein, Chief Strategy Officer for the City of Detroit. And Tim Meyer, who is Senior Academic Provost for Wayne County Community College. These are members of the Citizen Advisory Committee. They don't make up the entire Citizen Advisory Committee, but I am grateful that they are here today. And I'd like to thank them for their continued support and advice that they offer during all of our meetings. This year marks the 65th anniversary of the University of Michigan-Dearborn. And for many, turning 65, which for me is in my rearview mirror, it is a time that they start thinking about retirement. But our campus is far too vibrant and engaging to think about slowing down. Today, I have the privilege of sharing some of our achievements over the past year and our aspirations looking forward. We'll also hear from students, staff, and faculty committed to building upon our strengths as a top regional public university in the region and the #1 top public regional university in Michigan. We will learn about strategies for increasing enrollment, staying affordable, and supporting our students by creating a home away from home. Lastly, we'll enjoy, as Ken said, Springfest, or Winter Carnival. It may turn to snow. You know, this is Michigan after all. And it's a very good time to be at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Our momentum reminds me of skiing, which I love to do when there's time, of course. And if you're a downhill skier, you know the feeling of pushing off, picking up speed, and encountering a rush of mountain air as you accelerate. It's quite exhilarating, and you feel like you can go anywhere. A good skier also prepares with the right tools and equipment and knowledge. You're always focused on potential obstacles. We skiers call them snowboarders, and are aware of potential mishaps that can occur from time to time. Then you can have a safe and successful run. This is what we do every day here at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. We prepare, navigate the terrain, and continually push forward, picking up speed every semester to help our university be successful and our students cross the finish line. This was evident when the Higher Learning Commission recently applauded our performance and validated our mission. For the first time in our 65-year history, we met or exceeded all criteria for HLC accreditation. In short, we passed with flying colors. This is an extraordinary achievement made possible by everyone in this room, and I'm proud and grateful beyond mention. So please give everyone here a round of applause. This year also brought record-breaking enrollment of first-year students who realized that U of M-Dearborn is an excellent choice. We saw a more significant increase in first-year student enrollment than all but 2 public universities in Michigan. We also saw a second year of growth in transfer students and are excited to have them join us. Many people work to make our university an attractive and welcoming campus where students can pursue their dreams. We have so much to offer: practice-based learning, engaged faculty, meaningful on-campus employment opportunities, and support services that go well beyond the classroom. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a unique benefit we provided this year to first-year students: season's tickets to all Michigan football games. And what a year for us to launch this special program. The football team went undefeated, including beating Ohio State. Where's Brian? There he is, our CFO, an Ohio State alum. For the third year, Brian, third year in a row. And I am sure there is an undeniable correlation there. So next year, we're going to give all of our first-year students tickets to the Lions games. That's just a joke, just a joke. Here is where we face obstacles. Our overall enrollment is down, albeit slightly. This is partly due to students graduating faster, which of course is very rewarding and is our goal. Our 4-year and 6-year graduation rates are rising for students attending college for the first time and for other subgroups like Pell-eligible and Hispanic students. Awarding more diplomas demonstrates our commitment to changing more lives. We rank among the top 30 universities nationwide, and the only one, let me repeat that, the only one in Michigan that offers students the greatest likelihood of upward mobility. But our enrollment decline is also due to students not returning to campus, which is worrisome. They either transfer out or drop out for family or financial reasons. Last year, we lost 400 students, which first and foremost is a loss of human potential, but it is also a loss of over $6 million in revenue. We'll be hearing more about our approaches to recruiting and retaining students shortly, and I look forward to their conversation. Whether our students are in their first year or deep into graduate studies, we surround them with exceptional faculty, staff, and support services. This year, we welcome 2 new deans. Dagmar Budakova in the College of Arts, Science, and Letters joined us from Illinois State University, and Frederic Brunel in the College of Business joined us from Boston University. Please, I know they're here, so can you stand? Frederic and Dagmar. In addition to being accomplished scholars and leaders, our new deans share common threads with many of our students. They're both immigrants and first-generation students, making them inspiring role models who embody the transformative power of higher education. I could spend all afternoon sharing faculty accomplishments from the past year, but let me highlight 3. Birhanu Ashete, Assistant Professor of Computer Science, received the prestigious Career Award from the National Science Foundation. He joins a strong cadre of NSF Career Award winners already on campus. Mary Lee Benor, Professor of Biology and Biochemistry, was named a 2023 Fellow by the American Society for Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. And Sociology Professor Paul Draus is the new Faculty Director of U of M, that's all of U of M's Detroit Center. His work is just one example of our commitment to urban futures and serving Metro Detroit. Our staff are making equally impressive contributions. I want to hold up the work of our external relations team. Our media placements have been extraordinary. I would like to just ask Ken and Kristen to stand up and take a bow. They asked me not to do this, so this is exactly why I'm doing it. They have worked tirelessly to make sure that our accomplishments are exposed to the greater community in the nation and locally. 24 national publications, including New York Times and the Washington Post, shared news about U of M-Dearborn, and we continually to appear in local outlets. You'll recall I said that skiing comes with navigating obstacles. Like most of the state's public universities, we are facing financial shortfalls. We are going to hear about our budget today from Brian Dady, our CFO. We are also seeing financial successes, particularly in the area of external support. Our annual total research expenditures increased by nearly $2.5 million this year. That is due to faculty like the College of Engineering and Computer Science team that secured a $3.5 million grant from the Department of Defense for work on manned fighting vehicles, which was just featured yesterday as the top story in the University Record. I hope you all had a chance to see that. We had our best ever Giving Blue Day, with donors contributing more than $215,000. We will announce our capital campaign goal this fall, and it will be ambitious. Good thing Cassandra's not in the room because she usually falls out of her chair when I say that, but it will be ambitious. Cassandra Ulbrich and her team have been hard at work as they already have secured 3 7-figure gifts. National Advisory Committee member Mark Howes and his wife Paula are among those generous alumni and friends that have helped us achieve our goals, and they have prepared a special message for you.
Thank you, Domenico. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Hello, I'm Mark Howes, class of 1986. My wife Paula and I are pleased to announce a gift to the University of Michigan-Dearborn in the amount of $1 million to start the Mark and Paula Howes Get to Graduation Fund. Paula and I are proud graduates of the Detroit Public School System, and we met at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. And we know that a good education is a key building block to success. Like many of my fellow alum, after earning a great education at the University of Michigan-Dearborn, I went on to earn graduate degrees. I eventually went on to University of Michigan Law School, as well as the Fuqua School of Business at Duke. But please note that great graduate education was possible because of the strong educational foundation provided by the dedicated faculty and staff at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. Paula and I want to help make sure that others experience that success as well. So our money's not going to U of M Law, it's not going to Duke, it's going to the University of Michigan-Dearborn. And so thank you for continuing to challenge and nurture and support our students. And let's work together to ensure that more students get to graduation. Thank you for what you do every day.
I want to sincerely thank Mark and Paula for their tremendous generosity and support of our university. When government agencies, foundations, and individuals give to our university, it is a tangible show of faith and endorsement of our mission and impact. This excellence, both inside the classroom and out and outside is rooted in diversity of thought. Everyone contributes to the fabric of this university. Each of us has a history, a story, and experiences that shape and strengthen our campus culture. Because I always want this culture to thrive, I have asked 3 outstanding individuals and long-serving members of the U of M-Dearborn community to lead a new office to help re-envision our DEI efforts. They are, and please stand, I don't want to embarrass anybody else, but I will, as I call your name, Rima Berry Hung, Director of Human Resources. Sharia Carter, is Sharia here? Oh, there she is. Sharia Carter, Director of Center for Social Justice, and Castle Associate Dean Marie Wong. Thank you. The office will also be renamed the Office of Holistic Excellence, because multiple modes of reasoning, ideas, and perspectives will help ensure that our minds and our world are wonderful places to live. Among the many advantages of being diverse and welcoming is the climate of respect that infuses our campus. These are difficult times for many, with conflicts and human suffering affecting our community members. University leaders talk a lot about data, dollars, and performance indicators. This is essential and comes with leading any university. But an equally important yet immeasurable mark of the University of Michigan-Dearborn is our deep sense of community, understanding, and tolerance. I was disappointed and angered after a recent Wall Street Journal opinion piece that labeled Dearborn in a very disparaging manner. I hope you were all able to read my response that I shared yesterday with the campus community. I've had outstanding replies to that, both on campus, in the community, and from Ann Arbor. I appreciate that our community places such a high value on being respectful and supportive. I'm grateful to work alongside such compassionate students, staff, and faculty. I particularly want to acknowledge our student government president, Jana Rita. Is she here, Jana? She's not here. And her predecessor, Dorina Mate. Dorina just graduated, for their thoughtful leadership and collaborative spirit. They have been wonderful partners with whom to collaborate. To be sure, I am the fortunate steward of a very special campus and community. Here's the bottom line. We're all in this together. For us to succeed and for our students to succeed, we must all help each other. We should all celebrate each other's triumphs and always be prepared to lend a helping hand when any one of us is in need. Together, let's collaborate as university citizens to find innovative ways to balance the budget and increase enrollment and retention. We are all part of getting our students across the finish line. We can leverage our momentum and profound sense of community to magnify our strengths and overcome our challenges. I firmly believe more than ever that we have the combined talent, commitment, and intellectual horsepower to make the University of Michigan-Dearborn the model non-residential campus for the 21st century. One of the hallmarks we are doubling down on is our practice-based learning approach to education. We have 4 examples of how this experience is benefiting our students that will be shown throughout the program. Our first example of this is hands-on practical partnership with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. Let's roll the video.
This class takes our students and immerses them with the detectives in trying to solve or at least explore cold cases.
The cold case partnership is a partnership between us and Monroe County Sheriff Department. This program is an awesome opportunity for students to get their hands-on experience in how to investigate a crime.
The case they're working on this semester, for example, happened with a homicide in 1967.
They are successfully learning the real life aspects of what it takes to solve a case and the important human elements that go into that.
Whether it's processing evidence, going through old files, we'd assist the detectives with whatever they need to be done with the cold case process.
DNA and some of the technology that we have today wasn't available then. And our goal with this was, let's open these cases up, let's scour them from front to back, and see if there's anything there that we can extrapolate that maybe we can leverage today's technology to potentially solve and give the victims' families some closure.
The theories that we learn with the sociological, psychological, or law, they can see it in action as it progresses through the case.
To bag evidence and tag evidence and list it in the databases that they actually use in the police law enforcement field. That was like another hands-on experience that's unmatched.
They're taking what they read in a book or what they heard in a lecture, and they're getting to see how it plays out in real life. And I think that's a really good opportunity for them to kind of learn how things are going to work when they're on the job market or in the field, and see if they like it or they don't like it.
My dream after I'm done with school is like go the detective or agent route and do investigative work. And being able to actually work on a case has been the highlight of my year.
The impact for me has just been opening my eyes to this world that you would have never had within a classroom.
The things that took me 17 years to learn, they're grasping it right now at this early stage in their career. And I find that awesome.
It's about applying the lessons of criminology and criminal justice to real life circumstances. And I hope that our students come out of here prepared to do that.
I agree. That's a terrific example of one of our practice-based learning courses. I will acknowledge everyone in the videos later in the program. But now I want to move to our first presenter, who is our Chief Financial Officer, Brian Dady. Brian is going to share a behind-the-scenes look as to what goes into our operating budget and the complexity of building our budget every year, which is a big challenge, and we're right in the middle of it this year. So I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Domenico. I think I got it, Ken. So when Ken asked me if I wanted to give a discussion about budget, I said, Ken, I can talk about budget for hours. He's like, great, Brian, you got 10 minutes. So we're going to try to get through this pretty quickly. Like Domenico said, this is more a presentation about what it takes to put a budget together and really explain about why it's been so difficult for us. Let's see if I got this. I went ahead. All right. So we'll first start with the budget timeline. And really, I kind of framed it as it's the long and winding road for us, because it really starts in October and goes all the way through June when the board finally approves the budget. And throughout those months, a lot of things are changing. We're constantly reevaluating things, readjusting things. It's really a moving target as we continue to analyze the budget. And also during that time, there's lots of activity. I tried to highlight a lot there, didn't include everything. For instance, we have the service unit budget review. So the deans, the provost, myself, take an in-depth look at the service unit's budgets. I had the university budget committee. That's an advisory committee made up of staff and faculty members where we talk budget. We meet consistently and constantly with vice chancellors and the deans to go through budget strategies. We're putting forecasts together and leading to putting the budget together. And then finally, the responsibly centered management, RCM version of the budget that impacts the colleges. So a lot goes into the budget process. It's complicated, but really the objective is simple. We just have to get to a balanced budget. That means our annual revenues need to match our annual expenses. We cannot close a budget based on one-time funds or reserves or our endowed funds. We have to balance it based on what we're earning, and that's what we can spend on. So let's just get a little bit into our annual revenues and annual expenses. For our revenues, it's really two main sources. 99% of our revenue comes from tuition and fees, and I like to present it net of scholarships. That is 78%. State appropriations makes up 21%. Oh, my number went away. So really, it's just those two things that drive the budget. On the expense side, it's mostly people. 78% comes from salaries and benefits. 18% is our operating budget and running our facilities. 3% is for paying our debt, which is a very moderate level of debt, and just 1% we're able to allocate towards what we call deferred maintenance or reinvesting in our facilities. That's an area that's way too low, and I'm pretty concerned about that. So now let's get into the process, what it takes to put our budget together. I always get the question, why don't we know what the budget is now? Why can't we get answers sooner? And it really is a moving target as we get more and more information, and we'll get into that. So starting on the revenue side, the biggest piece of putting a budget together is our enrollment forecast. As we said, net tuition is 78% of our budget. So we work with Melissa Stone in enrollment management to set our enrollment forecast for the budget. But it's difficult to predict. Why? For many reasons. One, timing. We're trying to make a forecast now in anticipation of next fall, so many months ahead. Two, recent volatility that we've seen in Michigan at the regional public universities. Our enrollment levels haven't been consistent. And then three, it's a complicated calculation, and we'll get into that on the next slide. Another big piece of information that we need to put the budget together is the state budget. And unfortunately, the state budget bill comes out typically after our budget is approved. That is not helpful, state of Michigan, to plan. And so, their process is the governor puts out her version, then the Senate puts out a version, and the House puts out a version, and then they have a conference committee to come to a final bill. All those versions can be drastically different. So we could be basing a budget on certain assumptions, and then all of a sudden at the end, those assumptions have to change. And then finally, another big piece is settling on what our tuition rate strategy will be for the coming year. And it goes into a lot of different factors to make that decision. All right, so I talked about forecasting enrollment and coming up with what is our tuition revenue going to look like, what's the financial aid going to look like. And I said it's complicated. Why? Because there's multiple dimensions to it. One, price. We have many different rates, right? We have an undergraduate rate, graduate rates, lower division, upper division, and then all the financial aid calculations that get into it. Volume is another dimension. So that's trying to predict head count, credit hours. And so you have to understand how many new students are we getting? How many students are returning? How many of our students are going to be graduating? Who's not going to come back? And then of those students, how many are going to be full-time and in that tuition block? And then the final dimension really is our mix of students. So are they undergraduate students, graduate students, doctoral? What class are they in? Are they in lower division or upper division? Are they dual enrollment? All of these factors we have to be pretty accurate on if we're going to be accurate in our overall forecasting. All right, so I mentioned the volatility. So this is the last 10 years, UM-Dearborn, full-time enrollment on a full-time equivalent basis. We typically show head count. I thought it'd be interesting to do the full-time equivalent. And you can see we've had a period of increase, we've had a period of decrease, and we've had a period of flattening out. So we've experienced it all. So you can see why it is really challenging for us to settle on what that enrollment forecast will be that drives our budget. But when I show that, we did show a period of decline, but I think it's good that we compare ourselves to the rest of the state. And when we look over the last decade, we have fared much better than our competitors. We're about the 4th best. We are showing down about 3.3%, but if you look at the bottom of that table, some of our peers have had some unfortunate declines. Full disclosure, recently we probably haven't fared quite as well, probably closer to the middle of the pack, but definitely over the decade we have done a tremendous job. All right, so we talked about revenues. Now we're talking about the expense side of putting the budget together, and a lot of pieces have to come together. Obviously, a big decision is our merit raises. Another important piece on the benefit side is really the health care insurance. And that's one that's a good example of a moving target. Last year, we were working with an assumption that the increase was going to be about 10%. As we got to the end, we got notified by university HR that that increase was going to be 14%. So that's something that we didn't plan for, and then we've got to rerun the numbers and start adjusting the budget to get to a balanced scenario. Another piece of information that, again, we work with the folks in Ann Arbor for is the non-healthcare insurance. So that's like property insurance, auto insurance, cyber insurance. And again, those, they give us some early forecasts, but as we get closer to the final budget, they're also refining their assumptions, and those can change quite a bit. We also have to look at a number of different contracts. So employee contracts, service contracts, IT contracts. If they're active contracts, well, we know how to adjust for them and put that in the budget. But a lot of times these contracts are going to be in negotiation, or they're going to be up for bid, and so we've got to do some estimates around there, and not all the time, we're not always accurate on those. So that could cause us to make some adjustments in next year's budget if we're not accurate in those assumptions. And the same thing with utilities, is trying to get understand what's happening in the market so we can adjust our expenses relating to utilities. All right, so that was a lot of what goes into the budget. So now I just want to talk about the challenges and why it's been a challenge and difficult for us to get to that balanced budget. And really, it's about revenue it's been stagnant. Revenue's been very stagnant, and we saw the period of increase, decrease, and really flattening out. Revenue has not kept pace with the rise in expenses, and especially during this time with significant inflation. We've all felt that in our households. You go to the grocery store, dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. That's the same for us. In every aspect, we're seeing cost inflation. Talked about the health care. That's a significant increase, 14%. We've been told to expect 7 to 9% for this year and maybe next year. So those are tough to absorb in a budget to get back to a balanced budget. And then the other piece is capital needs. Remember, I said 1% of our budget is allocated to reinvesting in our facilities. Well, our facilities need much more than that, and that's an important situation we're trying to work on. I don't have the numbers here, but we're working on the fiscal year 2025 budget, and we're modeling a shortfall, multi-million-dollar shortfall right now. But again, as we continue to get more information and refine numbers, obviously that'll change, but that's the situation that we have right now. So I was told not to end on a negative, so let's talk about some positives here.
Thank you.
And of course, you guys won the national championship too. Thanks, Domenico, for reminding me. It's we, Brian. Oh, the? Is it the? Okay. Hey. Sorry, I had to. All right. So opportunities. Really, we've got to remain enrollment focused, and I think you'll hear from Melissa Stone and others about the strategic enrollment management plan. A lot of good, strong strategies around recruitment and retention and a lot of other things. State of Michigan, give them their credit. They came out with a really good scholarship program, Michigan Achievement Scholarship. It's in its second year. I think most universities saw a nice increase in FIDIACs. Hopefully that continues for a second year. And then we really got to look at optimizing our physical campus. And we engaged in comprehensive campus planning or master planning, and that's really about prioritizing and getting efficiencies and identifying cost savings. So with that, I will end my presentation. Thank you for time.
This class, Program Planning and Evaluation, is a community engaged course, so it's the highest level of PBL, practice-based learning, and it's also the capstone course. And so the students are actually working all semester with a community partner, the Dearborn Department of Public Health. So they're doing a lot of work with tree equity here in the city of Dearborn.
We know that trees have a range of really important benefits to the community and to residents. Obviously, they provide oxygen, they sequester carbon dioxide, but also they can help with flooding, they can improve mental health, et cetera, et cetera. So really what we wanted to work with these students on was to identify what parts of the city have trees to protect, what parts of the city need trees to protect, and then also what policies and programs can we or should we be implementing to accomplish that.
This project really taught me new research skills, so, searching out in the world for real world examples and solutions, and I think that will really help me in any future careers.
So much of that kind of experience happens in opportunities like unpaid internships and other things that aren't always accessible. So I think getting those kinds of opportunities to, network, to engage with a community partner, to have real experience with, a nonprofit or a government agency is just really important for students as they're, moving along to the next stage of whatever's going to come to them, whether that's grad school or professional job.
We got to see what parts of the theory were most important to hold on to and to use.
Our goal for the coming semester is to continue to work with the class and with future students to take some of the resources, programs, policies that students identified last semester and really dig into them, really explore how we can implement them within the city.
Our next segment is a behind-the-scenes look at our efforts tied to strategic enrollment management. Melissa Stone, who is our Vice Provost for Enrollment Management, and others from across campus will present and be part of a discussion related to a few of our initiatives in our plan. Melissa?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Chancellor. I'm excited to be here today to share some recent initiatives launched as part of our Strategic Enrollment Management Plan, or SEM, and this guides our campus enrollment efforts around strengthening enrollment. And as we just heard from Brian, we all recognize why that's a very important part of meeting our institutional goals. As a reminder, the campus can monitor SEM progress on the campus strategic planning site. And this is an important way, if you're interested, is to get a sense of what the different strategies and tactics that we're focused on. When we launched SEM last year in winter 23, that's just the first step. Ensuring we're continuously implementing and assessing new strategies is essential, and it's part of this ongoing work. On the website, you can review not only the different strategies and tactics that were identified during the planning, but you can track the currently prioritized efforts. And this year, we're going to be launching our first annual assessment where we'll be measuring the impact of the different initiatives. Today, we're going to have a conversation with a select group of colleagues. We want to highlight really these initiatives that reflect on the fact that these are campus-wide collaborations, and they're occurring to really align us as far as recruitment and supporting our students on the path to graduation. So I'm going to sit down and we're going to have a little conversation. And I'm not sure, is my mic? Yeah. So first we're going to talk a little bit about some recruitment efforts. And I'm joined on stage by Urena Pridemore, who's our Director of Undergrad Enrollment. Kevin, I think everyone knows Urena, right? She's been around for a while. Kevin Lushannon, who's our Director of EM Communications and Events. And Marie Wong, our Associate Dean in Castle. And she's kind of our faculty representative. She's been involved in a lot of these initiatives, but obviously this is a reflection on all of the colleges and the work we do. But we couldn't have everyone on stage. Believe me, I tried to get more. Ken's like, you need to limit it. All right, so what we're gonna start with, and you can see on the slides at a high level what we're gonna focus on, but I'm gonna start with Urena. And Urena, we're gonna start and talk a little bit about dual enrollment. And can you tell us a little about how the new initiative we've launched with Detroit Public Schools is different from the traditional model?
Hello. So dual enrollment typically is where a student enrolls in a class of 30 other students who are typically undergraduate students. The Detroit Public Schools model is a cohort model, so they are enrolling just with their cohorts. And it is 5 high schools in Detroit Public Schools. We have Southeastern, Cass Tech, Western International, East English Village, and Marygrove. So these students are enrolling on Saturdays. They take their class from 1 to 2:30 every other week. So they are meeting with a faculty member. That faculty member is also really helping them engage in learning, teaching them what it is to be a college student. So it's really different than going to a class where there's 30 other students. They already know how to be a college student. And it is also based on their needs. So again, teaching on a Saturday, we know most of our classes here are not taught on Saturdays. So it really is giving opportunities to students who wouldn't normally be able to do dual enrollment here at the university.
Thank you. Marie, I want to ask you, can you give us a little more perspective on why colleges saw this as a great opportunity?
Sure. So it's really important to be able to align sort of what the high school students' needs were with some of our courses. And what we're really interested in is that pipeline, building that pipeline between us and Detroit Public Schools. And the hope is that we can attract more students from Detroit.
So turning it back to Urena, can you tell us a little about why you're so proud of this initiative?
So I am super proud of this initiative because even before I stepped into the director role of admission, I had been working on this. It took over 3 years to get this partnership with Detroit Public Schools. And when we got it, we had a very small cohort where they were in courses with UM-Dearborn students. It did not work as well. So Castle was very, very grateful to be able to say, okay, what can we do to make this work? So we taught on a Saturday this term. I will say I want to say some thank yous. So Laura Rush and Natalie Sampson really stepped up and they said, let's use this certificate as a model. Troy Murphy and Dr. Kevin Early really taught this class and they helped us to form what this is going to look like. And then currently we have to say Eunice and Marie have really stepped up to help us figure this out. And then this term, Lisa Martin and Chess really helped us to be able to do this. Why is this important to me? DEI is important. We were not enrolling enough students from Detroit Public Schools. They weren't applying to us as degree-seeking students. We had more students apply from Cass Tech this past fall than we have in a very long time. So it is pipeline. So that's why I'm really excited about this.
Thank you, Urena. So Marie, we're going to shift to slightly a different program, but at the same time aligning with the goal here. So can you share a little more detail? This is a recent kind of pilot we're starting about on-site teaching with Grosse Ile and Ferndale.
Sure, and this I have to shout out to Eunice again because he's been doing work on this. But the focus here is getting into going to the high schools, giving the students that in-person experience, because as you can imagine, it's not easy for high school students to get to our campus, so there's that barrier, so we're trying to remove those barriers.
Thank you. So we're really excited about these different initiatives and future opportunities, both to do expand districts, look at expanding beyond the current certificate we're kind of working to offer. So this is just giving you a little bit of insight into this initiative, and we're really looking at this as, again, very beginning stages of building something that we know we can grow. So thank you for giving us some insight on that. We know that this has been an important, Urena, we're going to shift a little bit, sorry, back to you. So one of the new kind of transfer strategies is that we're hearing a little bit more. Can you tell us about what you're hearing for the online course demand and why this particular initiative has launched?
So I think everyone's aware COVID-19 changed the way students learned. But we always had transfer students who were asking about online courses, online learning. Once they got a taste of it with COVID, they really started asking for it more. So when we've worked with Henry Ford College and Schoolcraft College, they're really interested in us offering not only more courses, but the availability to do majors. We have students, that's one of the first questions they ask for our transfer team. They have lives outside of the classroom, and they want us to be able to accommodate them. So for us, having that flexibility really makes us as a possible campus for them.
Thanks. And Marie, from the college perspective, can you kind of share a little more detail why this has been an important initiative?
Sure. So we know that there are a lot of adults in the state of Michigan with some college but no degree. So there's the hope we can attract some of them to us. We also know that transfer students, as Urania just said, are very interested in transferring into online programs. So we're looking very carefully at online programs and where the demand might be, and then trying to make sure we can meet that demand.
Thank you. And so to clarify with this particular initiative, where while it's not quite an online program for an undergrad, being that these students have sort of the coming in with the core MTA, we really think this is going to open up opportunities both with community colleges in the region, but even a little bit further out. So we're really excited, and I do want to thank history, psychology, sociology, and Spanish are the majors that we're going to be piloting this fall. And obviously we want to continue to see how this goes and also look at other majors specifically where we know there's transfer demand. So very excited to see how this one also develops. So thank you for sharing some insight onto that. So now I want to shift a little bit to Kevin. So he didn't get to talk yet. No. So what you're going to see on here is obviously we have a couple of key projects, Kevin, that you and your team are partnering on, including the website revamp with Bailey and team and external relations and enhanced collaborations in terms of events, communication, student ambassadors. Can you summarize overall why these are critical to our recruitment efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think ultimately at the end of the day, our goal is to really highlight the best of UM-Dearborn to make sure that we can differentiate ourselves from the other universities for future students. One of the ways that we're trying to do this is really to highlight the personal experiences and interactions that students face from day one that is given from our faculty and staff. We should be really proud of our campus community and the work that we do to create personalized and interactive experiences for our students, and doing so to make sure that we're doing so to recruit and yield students. We're putting more focus on drawing attention to those unique experiences and starting with kind of being really more intentional about how we're promoting our academic programs and our practice-based learning experiences for our students. Hopefully, in doing so, we will create a more personalized information and experiences for students that will resonate well and hopefully ultimately lead them to choosing us for their place of furthering their education.
Thank you. And then Marie, I'd like to get your perspective also on these initiatives from the college's role and why this is important.
Sure. So we worked, the associate deans across all the colleges worked with Kevin, and we were in a lot of meetings. And the thing that I think was really powerful was that these were smaller events, and it was faculty interacting with potential students. And that was when I really saw that connection. And I think that's what we do so well on our campus. And it just seems like the more we can sort of get faculty involved in recruiting in that way, not in all the stuff you're all doing, but in that way of like just that developing that connection, because they're the ones who are behind the courses and the programs, and they're the ones that are going to really matter in a student's day-to-day life. So that's something I think that was really powerful, that faculty to student connection. I also want to mention the student-to-student connection, that Dean Budakova, one of the things she's been working on is a student ambassador program with Melissa. And it's I think, going to be really an interesting and useful program because it's going to be focusing on recruiting, but also on retention. And so it'll build that student-to-student interpersonal connection.
Thank you, guys. So I'm really looking forward to all of these changes and seeing how these impact our recruitment. Obviously, I'm very excited about the website changes. I think anyone who knows that the 4 years I've been here, thank you, Ken and team. Excited about seeing those. And obviously how we continue to enhance. We're really appreciative of the colleges and the added engagement that we've had this year and this commitment. Like I said, this is a partnership. And so this is really just a small glimpse into some of the initiatives that you're seeing, but we really wanted to highlight some of the key things. And again, look at potentially partnering across all of the colleges and some of these things that are sort of just starting to pilot we wanted to highlight. So I want to thank all of you for joining me up on here. Please give a thank you to Urania, Kevin, and Marie. So we're now going to transition because we want to talk, obviously, recruitment is one piece of the puzzle and retention obviously is the other piece where we want to make sure. So we're going to welcome to the stage a new team, and I'm welcoming Ryan Neelums, who's our Director of Student Conduct and Support, Julie Faust, who's our Director of the One Stop, Andy Beverly, our Director of START, and Thea Gillespie, who's our Associate Director of Compliance and Training and Financial Aid. Thank you guys for joining me. So all of these leaders play a critical role in supporting students, and we're going to ask them to discuss some initiatives, and also really reflect, the reason I asked these individuals on stage is it really does reflect the collaboration in the teams that support the students to get them to graduation, but also, again, just a very small piece of who supports everyone across the university. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you, and we're going to start first and have you tell us a little more about the Dearborn Support Survey that was launched this fall and how it's helping our students and kind of the results of the fall pilot.
Thank you. So the Dearborn Support Survey is a campus-wide initiative to ensure second to third year students are getting connected to the necessary campus resources. The survey in itself asks students questions surrounding their campus involvement, academics, their well-being as far as mental health, as well as just their overall wellness, as well as their sense of belonging.
Thank you. And so when this was launched, as was said, this is the beginning of the semester, and this dovetailed very well with a different initiative that I'm going to tie to Julie, which essentially is that towards the end of the semester, we want them to come back for the next semester, right? Key part of enrollment. So although, Julie, I want to speak to you now about a second survey that many of our students may be getting. Although we started this a couple years ago to encourage enrollment, in this semester, we made some enhancements. So can you tell us a little bit about the improvement that we launched this fall and kind of how that's made a more effective process?
Sure, thank you. So as you said, this is a survey that's been going on for a while, but now recently in partnership with CRM, marketing, One Stop, financial aid, the advising units, really partners all over, we've been able to streamline the process with clear and concise surveys to students checking in about registering for an upcoming semester, a task in their student portal to make it very easy for them, and then very quick responses if they let us know by filling out the survey that they need some extra support. And then in partnership with IRE, it's really exciting because this is allowing us to build data for trend analysis so that we can look at, what barriers students are facing about registering for the upcoming semester, and then also why they're choosing not to if they choose not to.
Thank you, Julie. So I'm going to turn it over to Andy. So Andy, we know that the advising teams play a critical role in supporting our students on their path to graduation. So can you talk a little about the collaboration that occurs with your colleagues here in supporting students, specifically in regards to how these newer initiatives that have been launched?
Yeah, thank you. So advising is excited to be a part of these initiatives. So we are not only here for the students on our own, but we're here as a community. And so one of the things that we've participated in this is reaching out to the students with both of the surveys, making sure that we're getting students to complete the survey, so we're finding out what students need this. So we had advisors reaching out. I know other people on campus, not just advising, was doing the same. And then also following up with those students. So when those students who need help are letting us know that, we're able to, with the different offices, they send those to the advising offices, and the advisors will reach out to those students and provide that support. So I remember when I started hearing about these initiatives, I was excited for the opportunity for advising to be a part of it. And I want to thank the chancellor for having some of these ideas and sharing it with us to make this happen, because we don't always know what students need help. And having a mechanism for them to let us know they need help so that our experts in advising can reach out to them has been a great partnership between all the offices. I also want to thank Gabriela Scarlata for her support of advising. Tomorrow the advisors are having a campus-wide advising meeting, which has been supported by her, and we're partnering with financial aid to come and learn more about financial aid so that we can have these cross-campus partnerships to support our students.
Thank you, Andy. So thank you. As was highlighted, I think that this level of proactive outreach really represents a small way that we're supporting our strategic goal of ensuring our students know we care about them as a person. And as Julie kind of also mentioned, it really helps us have more data As was mentioned, Rick and team and IRE has recently is launching these new dashboards. And so this is just the first year, and this is going to allow us to have trend analysis, assessment, and really help guide our future efforts. So thank you for allowing us to hear a little bit more about those initiatives. Thea, I'm going to turn to you because we know that affordability is such a key component of also making sure that our students are retaining. And we note a few different initiatives, and I know Brian already mentioned the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, which has again helped really put money in front of many of our students coming in this year. But can you summarize overall kind of how these initiatives that we focused on support our students?
Of course. So financial aid's goal is, of course, to help students get to graduation and, more importantly, have access to the funding to do so. So with that, as it's already been referenced with the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, we appreciate the state's investment in providing a major tuition support for students. And so we're excited to see what that does for our students in the coming years since it started last year. In addition, we've kind of streamlined how students search for private and endowed scholarships through the Scholarship Universe platform. We're hoping that this gives students access to additional funds, again, to get them to graduation. With the Wolverine Emergency Support, we've partnered with Dearborn Support to provide students with funding, which I'm sure we'll talk about here shortly, in situations that are emergent. It may be, you know, a bump in the road as far as them having an issue, and these funds can go to help clear that so that they can focus on their degree and their classes and getting to graduation. So I think overall, these initiatives reflect financial aid's commitment to providing access to important funding, again, to get students to graduation.
Thank you, Thea. So Ryan, I want to turn to you, and Thea mentioned it. There was a new emergency aid process. It was implemented in partnership both with your area and financial aid. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you see helping the students?
Yeah, so that process is called the Wolverine Emergency Support Fund, and that's a partnership between Dearborn Support and financial aid. And what that fund does is it assists students who are having a non-tuition emergency financially. Right? So we want to make sure that that does not impede their ability to continue as a student here at U of M-Dearborn. With this partnership, we're able to do a case management approach, what allows us to give them the financial support, but also give them community resources and campus resources as well.
Thank you, Ryan. So turning back to Thea, although a lot of this was focused on initiatives that we've recently launched, we know that right now it's hard to avoid in the news about the changing FAFSA. So I sort of asked Thea to just really highlight what the current status. We want everyone to realize, obviously, we're looking very closely at this and thinking about how affordability is going to impact our future class in light of a lot of the changes that are happening right now, Thea. So you can just share with everyone kind of where we're at as far as the changes for us.
Yes, so for those of you who haven't heard, the FAFSA has gone through the first major change in 40 years, which has caused a delay in schools receiving information, which again causes a delay to us sending new aid offers to incoming students. But this is the same for schools all across the nation. We are very vigilant as an office as far as learning how these changes impact our students. We know that need-based aid is very important for students in as far as completing the FAFSA, and when we do receive that information, we will be ready to go. Our office has been very vigilant in training and learning about the changes and how it's going to impact our student population. So when we get the information, along with schools all across the nation, we'll be ready to support our incoming students. We have various communications going out to our current students. We're hosting events about the changes on campus as well as virtually to really support as this transition happens across the nation.
Thank you, Thea. So I can confirm, okay, I did want to just add that the Go Blue Guarantee, which obviously was something we launched in 21, and as we said, the Michigan Achievement Scholarship really has made a significant increase. Just to give you a little very brief data point, of our Pell eligible population, in fall 23, we actually welcomed 472 versus 239 before launching Go Blue. So I know we're doing all we can to make sure the incoming fall 24 class stays engaged in the college process, as Thea mentioned, because we know how affordable it can be if they take advantage of these programs, and we don't want them to get discouraged by the delay in the FAFSA. So we're very committed to making sure that our prospective students understand what's going on. So I want to extend a thank you to all my panelists for sharing some insight on these exciting initiatives. I know it's just a small picture of all the work the teams do in collaboration in supporting our students. As we wrap up, I just want to highlight some additional opportunities that this is just the very beginning of conversations that we're going to continue to have. So keep in mind and be on the lookout this month for our EM newsletter. We'll give additional details about where we landed for fall or for winter enrollment. You would have just seen a faculty listening session on recruitment and retention, which just announced for March 18th. And we're also in plans to bring a campus-wide retention summit. This is going to be an opportunity to engage the entire campus in a more detailed conversation, and we're targeting the first week in April. So we'll be continuing this collaboration and engagement on this important recruitment and retention work, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we've been focused on. Thanks, guys.
Is a key component of the undergraduate and graduate tax courses that I offer in the winter semester. The students are required to complete 8 hours of training and then 15 to 20 hours of volunteer service with VITA as a component of my course. I partner with the Accounting Aid Society for that project.
VITA, it's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. It's a program run by the IRS. They work with community-based programs to provide low-income and middle-income households with tax preparation services.
So usually the way it'll work is you're going to a community center and you're going to interview people as they're coming in and talking to them, understanding their situation, and then you're going to do their taxes.
And it's very beneficial for the students because not only do they learn about how to prepare taxes, they learn the tax code better themselves, but they actually learn how to interact and engage with clients, which is so important for professional practice. It's that component of education they really can't get in the classroom.
I think this experience will really affect my career going forward. Really kind of grounds me in that connection with people. And then for me, I've also gotten to learn a lot. So I know when I go to interviews, this is something I can talk about, and employers are happy to hear that I've done something like this.
The things that I learned through the VITA program really guided me to want to be a CPA and continue in the accounting profession. Each and every interaction I had built on the next interaction that I had and showed me the impact that the VITA program had on the individuals that came for VITA services.
Last year alone, UM-Dearborn students provided 423 hours of volunteer time. The impact from that was $640,000. The application of what you learn in the classroom and learning how to apply it in a real-world setting is something that I wish I had when I was an undergrad. Some of the time when we're hiring full-time staff, we can tell the ones that have done application of the work, those that actually get the application definitely hit the ground running.
Our final segment today will be a discussion led by Amy Finley, our Dean of Students. Just because our students commute to campus each day does not mean that they need to compromise on any aspects of campus life. We want their experience here to be special and memorable, and Amy will tell us how we're doing that. Amy.
Well, I think my segment's the only thing standing between you all and winter-ish carnival. I reject the spring carnival. So thankfully, I've only prepared about 2 hours of content. So in 2019, Chancellor Grasso really charged me with thinking about creating the non-residential campus of the 21st century and what could that look like for us. So much work was underway in thinking about this when the pandemic hit. The pandemic forced all of us to think very differently and very creatively. And I think, although none of us would wish for the pandemic, I think it opened our eyes to a lot of building blocks of how we might create the campus engagement or the campus of the 21st century that we desired. And for me, flexibility was the key. As I'm speaking and as we have our panel today, I do want to mention that there's some data behind me that I hope you would agree is pretty compelling, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So those flexibility could be in the delivery of services and programs. For example, extended hours, Zoom appointments, the strategic use of technology that really supports student engagement. So whether that's Victor's Link for our student life friends, or whether that's the weekly student update email, and as you see on the board here, we're seeing tremendous open rates for the weekly student update. It's also flexibility in thinking about what engagement is. I think historically a lot of people have said it's about joining a student organization. And that's because student organizations have been such a lifeline for student life on this campus. But it's not just about being a part of a student organization. That's one great way to be engaged. And I hope you'll hear today about a variety of ways that students choose to get engaged. And it was also that we recognized, and thank you to Chancellor Grasso for supporting this, we recognize the need for more student-friendly, flexible, and collaborative spaces for students to be before class, after class, and just spending time with each other, whether that's working on an academic project, whether that's doing something for the student organization, or just having a cup of coffee with a friend. So a couple of key spaces that I would point to, if you're in the building today and haven't yet been there, take a walk upstairs and go look at the Wolverine Commons. We see that about 60 students or so during the lunch hour every day are using the Commons. And so some people have said to me, hey, I don't see people, there's empty tables and I can get a seat in the food court, so things must be bad. And I say, well, there's 60 people upstairs, so that'd be 15 tables of 4 if they came downstairs to eat. But in addition to that, the ELB opened during the pandemic, and that is full of wonderful spaces for students to gather, spend time together. So there are so many new and incredible spaces where students are gathering. So again, please take note of some of these pieces of data behind me. I want to note just a couple to call out. 20% increase in student organization events from fall 22 to fall 23. And approximately 87% of those events were held in person. So I think there are a lot of people who are saying, hey, a lot of this stuff is happening online and on Zoom and it's not the same engagement. And I would challenge that because our numbers are telling us that 87% of those events for student organizations are happening in person. And then finally, I'd point to the fact that 46% of our students reported being on campus 4 or 5 days a week in the Smith Group's recent survey. So they are here, they are engaged. Student engagement takes so many different forms, as I've said, but it's very healthy. It's very healthy right now. But you have to use your post-pandemic glasses. And thank you to Pam for giving me that analogy of putting on post-pandemic glasses and looking at engagement differently than you might have in 2019. So at this point, I'd like to call some of my panelists up. So please welcome to the stage Chris Spilker from the library, Callie Crawford from Athletics and Recreation, and Alpha Nasser, our student representative. So we will start with Chris Spilker, and Chris is going to tell us a little bit about digital storytelling. So Chris, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Experience Plus, the library through Experience Plus applied for a grant for the Coalition for Transformative Learning. And our suggestion was storytelling, digital storytelling in specific, in that the focus of the coalition was on students' identity, agency, and purpose. And we thought that what we were looking to collect through our stories was very complementary to that, so we applied for and got a grant to work with digital storytelling.
And who participates in digital storytelling?
We were aiming to recruit a diverse group of students that was reflective of the campus. We were lucky that we were actually able to do that through the students that applied. The students that applied were worked as a paid position, so they were student employees, which kind of gave them a sense of work, but also gave them more of a stake in the work that they were doing with us.
And what are some of the outcomes you've seen?
One of the outcomes was, I think a lot of the students that worked with us, and I'm going to call Max is right over there. a lot of the students, this was the first thing they'd engaged in on campus. Our initial group had a wide variety of, one of the aspects we're looking for was this sort of curriculum of undergraduates, graduates, international transfers, and we ended up with all that. So in a lot of ways, this was their first sort of engagement on campus, and I think I have seen the students that are student participants in a lot of other places around campus after the fact. So I think that was one of our good outcomes. In addition, that group is a very close-knit group, demonstrating the effectiveness of that sort of work to create those kind of groups.
Excellent. And where do you see this going?
The initial projects have sort of wrapped up, but we are working on a new project with student workers. Some of our initial storytelling students are helping out with that. And we have the first storytelling project in the classroom this semester in a forensic anthropology class, studying, working on a video project on forensic anthropology and race.
All right, thank you. I'd now like to turn it over to my colleague, Callie Crawford. So Callie comes to us from Athletics and Recreation. So Callie, can you tell me a little bit about the community of athletes we have?
Sure, thank you. In athletics, we have a total of 16 sports and roughly 300 student athletes. This past fall, our student athletes achieved a 3.21 GPA. Yep, very
Awesome.
impressive, very proud. And 67% of our sophomore, our juniors, and our senior student athletes were all academic or all conference members. So again, another toot to our student athletes in the academic side. Last November, we had 2 standout student athletes from our cross-country programs, Kylie Callison and Joe Siebert, who made it to the NAIA Nationals. And last but not least, our Student Athlete Advisory Council teamed up together, collected over 962 pounds of food for our student pantry here on campus.
That is awesome. So being an athlete is a very different way than being in a student organization for being engaged. So how do you think student athletes benefit the most from their experience?
Sure. So I think the obvious is our student athletes are really able to grow as individuals, whether that's on the field or off the field, on the court, off the court, on the ice, off the ice, whichever you want to name it. But they're really able to build their leadership skills. They're really able to work extremely well with others. And they're able to connect here on campus. They're able to connect with whether it's faculty, whether it's staff, whether it's their own peers. And again, they're really able to focus in at the goal at hand, which is having a good experience here at UM-Dearborn, but getting their degree.
And on the screen, we have a statistic that in a scale of 1 to 7, our students marked us as a 5.2 of a faculty or staff member cares about me, and I'm sure that's probably true based on what you said in athletics. So let's talk about the recreation side of the house, right? So what can you tell us about what's going on the recreation side?
So on the recreation side, actually later this month, on February 23rd, we'll be hosting our open intramural house, or open house intramurals. We'll have a little bit of everything. We'll have the hoops down, we'll have basketball going, we'll have volleyball, we'll have cornhole set up. We also have broom ball on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I added this on my own, but I wanted to remind everyone that we have an awesome wellness center that just received a lot of new equipment, lots of brand new TVs. So we have a little bit of everything for everyone, and it's a great way for our students and student athletes to connect together and have a good experience.
And that's just another example of a way, more informally, that you can build a connection with the campus. Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to our student, Alpha. Hey, Alpha. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Firstly, I'm a senior studying biological sciences, and then I'm also the program coordinator for the Office of Chair Programs. My campus involvement includes I'm the vice president for Phi Delta Epsilon Medical Fraternity, and I recently stepped down from a couple of my roles in student government and the Undergraduate Society of Psychology and Neuroscience to start research with Dr. Fan.
Awesome. So I want to really focus on your student employment experience because that's another great way that students can get connected and build community on our campus. And again, pointing to our data, you will see that approximately 665 student employees on the campus, representing 35% of the workforce. So Alpha, tell us a little bit about your experience and what kind of transferable skills you've learned, how you've grown.
As for my skills, definitely leadership. I directly supervise 5 other student staff. Problem solving, as you know, our director, Perry Boyd, he usually likes to tell me, figure it out. That's his favorite thing. He's actually currently doing my job. He's doing a field trip for some of our students while I'm here. And yeah, there's a lot more, but those are the first that come to mind.
And tell us about, how does working in a part-time role on campus, how does that build your connection to our community?
Well, you really get to know both sides of the communities here on campus, both the staff side and the student side, and those kind of interchange at the same time. Sometimes students come up to you, they're looking for resources, you can put them in contact with those staff on campus. And then as for our office, I believe we have one of the best offices on campus, both professionally and personally. I've met a lot of my friends through this office, and we're really there to take care of each other.
Excellent. So pulling back from student employment, just for our last question, as a student, what do you kind of think is the most important part about students getting engaged?
It's definitely that sense of community. This is a commuter campus, so it's not really getting the students here, because that's what the classes are for, but it's keeping the students here after those classes. So having that sense of community is what we really look for. It's kind of a second family here on campus, and that's really what keeps the students here and keeps them engaged.
Awesome. So thank you to Chris, Callie, and Alpha for sharing this important information. And I just want to reiterate that it's important to remember the various ways in which students can get engaged, and encouraging students to find the connection that makes the most sense to them in their journey. And to me, we have so many examples of how healthy student engagement is on campus right now, and I think it's a point of pride. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't provide a small or brief update on student mental health and well-being. That's not explicitly a part of this presentation about engagement, but I know that this topic is top of mind for everyone in the room. I want to start out by expressing my deepest gratitude to our CAPS team, who I know some of you are in the room. If you could rise and be acknowledged. Want to just keep you informed with where we're at with mental health and well-being, and I'll just share a few pieces of information. The number of students participating with CAPS has not significantly increased, but severity has, particularly over the past 2 years. And I also want to let you know that we continue to have zero wait time. So it's totally appropriate and important to refer students if you recognize that they're having issues. We know that almost 40% of students presenting to CAPS report having thoughts of suicide within the previous 2 weeks. 82% report feeling isolated or alone. 80% report sleep problems, and 62% report feeling worthless. But we are aggressively responding to need. In addition to no wait time, we've launched a variety of new support groups, therapy groups, programming, and efforts to raise awareness about what CAPS does and also provide the services that our students so desperately need. And last, I just want to mention that at any time, faculty, staff, students, anyone in our community can file a care report online to let us know if they are interacting with a student for whom they think might be going through a difficult time. Thank you so much.
The course name is Robot Manipulation. We teach how to control robots, and students learn forward kinematics, inverse kinematics, how to position a robot arms.
The class is project-based, and there's a lot of hands-on learning in the class that you probably would not get on a textbook. Professor Kwan got us these kits that allowed us to actually build mobile robot from scratch using these components coded afterwards, and have it actually do some pretty cool things. There is an end-to-end aspect to this type of learning.
It's a great opportunity for us to be able to interact with these technologies, not from like an intellectual aspect only with rigorous study, but also being able to incorporate practical elements and practices in order to be able to make something that sets us up for success, but also teaches us how to control environments that might not go how we plan them to. So I think that project-based learning is a great way for us to get this stuff wrong here before we bring that to the industry where the stakes are much higher.
I try to teach students so that they can be ready right away. For example, robot operating system is a very popular, but not many schools actually teach this course.
All these systems that are autonomous utilize ROS. And so having learned ROS in Professor Kwan's class would catapult me into a certain career.
The main focus of this course is teach practical knowledge so that students can be ready for real applications.
I'd like to acknowledge the faculty and students from our videos that are here with us today. Please stand so everybody can thank you for participating in these terrific videos. I'd also like to thank Brian, Melissa, and Amy and their teams for terrific presentations today. Finally, I'd like to thank Greg Taylor, literally behind the curtain, and his students, and external relations, Ken and Kristen and his team. And I'd like to especially thank Kim Clark. Many of you may not know Kim. Kim, can you just stand up? Kim is from Ann Arbor, and she has helped me with these remarks and many other writings that I've done. She was the speechwriter for Mary Sue Coleman and is now helping us, so we're very grateful to Kim. And this actually concludes the State of the University. I hope you agree that there is a lot here to be proud of. I encourage you to enjoy winter, spring, fall, whatever season it may be out there, Carnival. And this year's event is a zero waste event, so please help us with our sustainability goals. As you know, we have a special guest outside the doors. I think many of you may be here for that particular rendezvous with the 2024 NCAA Football National Championship trophy that was actually won by our branch school in Ann Arbor, but we can celebrate their successes as well. So I'd like to thank you all for being here, and as always and forever, go blue and go Dearborn.